Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to call our town council meeting to order for February the 3rd. Could we please stand for our pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, I invite you into our meeting tonight to lead, guide us, and share your wisdom with us that we will make the right decisions for all the citizens of Nashville. Amen.
Amen.
Before we get into our meeting, I'd like to ask Jason if he'll come and talk, and this should be on the streaming.
Good morning, Council, Mayor, citizens. I'm happy to report that, however, we did have a total system decrease in water pressure. We are actively turning the water back on now. So citizens should be over the next 15 to 20 minutes. Hour notice that the water pressure is increasing. We are asking the citizens to put in our boil water advisory. I've been in touch with the NCDEQ. We do not have any contaminants in the system. We had a break, a positive pressure break, so we did not have any siphonage of any kind of bad water back into the system. It was all water that was pressurized coming out of the system. So on Brooklyn Boulevard and Railroad Street, we had a 2-inch valve. In the process of getting that 2-inch valve repaired, when the blocker was pulled back, it showed that there was a 6-inch line there that had a big hole in the back of it. So once that blocking was lifted, the full extent of the damage was shown. We utilized all the valves we had in the area, and unfortunately, we're not able to get a good shutout. We contracted with Chuck Rousing and his group, with Rousing and Sons, to help us with the repair. They're actively right now backfilling and stuff like that. So just a bad situation, but I reassure you that the water is coming back on. We did leave water in the water tower, so once we get some of the valves redone, open up the valve from Rocky Mount that we closed, then we'll be able to open the tanks and we'll have full system pressure again. Just like we should.
Good. And Jason, thanks for everything, because I understand y'all worked last night till
Yes,
10
ma'am.
o'clock.
Yes, ma'am.
And I just appreciate you being so diligent about keeping our citizens water. And things like this happen.
They
There's
do.
nothing we can do about it. We have an old system, but you did your best, and that's what we thank
Yes,
you for.
ma'am. My hat's off to my entire team. I mean, this has been a complete public works. I've got guys from street sanitation. Everybody's out there pulling their part to do this.
Would you please let them know how much we
Yes, ma'am.
appreciate their effort?
I did want to issue an apology to Rocky Mount. There's been some misinformation. At no time did Rocky Mount cut us off. Rocky Mount's been a great steward to us. They actually give us a helping hand today. Their superintendent for water and sewer I reached out to him. He was able to give us some assistance. And then we made the decision as the town of Nashville to cut the water off to have to make this repair. So Rocky Mount in no way did cut us off.
Thank you so much, Jason. And again, we
And Chris is gonna
appreciate you.
give I want to get back out there just to make sure this
Okay.
repair goes
Thank you.
smoothly. But Chris is going to give you an update on some PR stuff we're doing.
And Mayor, before
Yeah.
he takes off, just for a point of clarity, any boiling water advisory for any of our citizens, and if so, for how long?
So for the next 24 hours, 24 hours is what the state is saying. We're going to do some back T testing tomorrow, which is required anytime we lose system pressure. But again, there's no contaminants that have been in the system. This was a leak. We dropped below pressure. So per DEQ, we're going to take some back T samples, make sure the water is perfectly fine. So we just ask you as an advisory to boil your water and then use it. If you need to take a shower, obviously you're not going to boil that. But if you're going to drink it, brush your teeth and stuff like that, boil that. Or again, you can get a bottle of water. But that should be cleared up, and we'll post it on Facebook, social media, just as soon as we get those test results back. So I anticipate taking those tests either tomorrow, depending on when we get the water back level right, tomorrow afternoon, and hopefully those test results will be back Thursday. So just boil water advisory.
Thank you.
Thank you so kindly.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
All right, thank y'all.
Chief?
So, as Jason was talking about, what we've done is Trip Boone, who's the emergency manager for the county, reached out to our office today and talked with us about getting some pallets of water here. So he reached out to the state emergency management. What they're going to do is they're going to send a trailer truck tomorrow morning with 18 pallets of water. We're going to unload it at station one across from, beside, Town Hall. And we will have the water data where we can disperse it out for folks that need water here in town, so that way that can be taken care of. I will, as soon as we get the truck here, we get it unloaded, I'll get Lou to blast it out on Facebook and however we can let everyone know that it's here, so that way people can come get, cases of water or whatever they need. So we're working on that. Also, during this time, we never lost, fire, suppression. What we did was we notified all our mutual aid departments and put them on alert that we needed tankers. The tankers would have come in and we would have been able to suffice firefighting and never lost the ability to do that. So even with the hybrid system going down, and I will give Jason's crews kudos because I've been out there with them most of the day. They have worked outstanding, and Ed Brazel's group has worked outstanding too with them today doing what they need to do. So we're in good shape now, but probably after midnight before we would have hydro pressures, but I'm gonna keep our, mutual aid departments on alert. They're not gonna go back to regular running until 7 o'clock tomorrow morning with us. So that's where we're at.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And our town manager was out there last night from 7 to 10, helping them too. I don't know what he did, but he was out there cheering them on. Thank you, Randy, for your effort also.
Mayor, Lou, if you would, tomorrow when the chief, either Jason gives you to go ahead with the water back up, not with the water, that the pallets have come in with the water. Once we get that situated, would you notify all the council people?
I will.
Because we'll start getting phone calls in about water.
Okay.
So we can do that too also.
One thing I'd like to mention, so I forgot, I apologize. If it is a shut-in or someone that doesn't feel like they can get out, me and Jason talked about it, we'll find someone, crews from the town that can run cases out to people that are shut in that can't get out. So,
Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you so much. And we're gonna move on to Tressa because she has to drive a distance to get home. So Tressa, take care of your item, which is the budget amendment. And that is actually item number, what is it, 7B, in the back of your book.
Good afternoon. I'm before you to present budget amendment number 15.
What page is that? I'm sorry.
It's,
176.
yeah, 176.
Sorry.
Budget amendment number 15 established the Red Oak Water Capital Project Fund in the amount of $1,539,990. Funding for this project will be provided through the transfer from the enterprise fund to fund balance. Funding for this project will be provided through a transfer from the enterprise fund balance to Fund 61. Budget amendment number 15 increases the revenues and expenditures by $1,539,990 for FY26.
Do I hear a motion to approve this budget amendment?
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Were there any public comments tonight?
Is it turned on?
It's on. I turned it on.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mayor. I was trying to do that post so that.
It's on back here.
Yeah, we can hear. Okay.
Yeah, they can hear, but you can't hear yourself out of it.
There are no public comments tonight, so we'll move on with our agenda items. The first one is the Regency Sewer Project, and one of our canceled ladies is out tonight due to illness, so it's just 3 here tonight. So Regency Sewer Project. Randy?
So Mayor and Council, we received 4 bids for our Regency sewer repair and rehabilitation project. The bids were included in the packet. The 4 were Precision Earth and Pipe from Raleigh for $881,791. Ralph Hodge Construction from Wilson, $1,141,881. Ed Braswell and Sons from Rocky Mount, $1,192,155. H.G. Reynolds from Henderson, North Carolina for $1,431,764. Our project engineer, Mike Tolson with Mackay Associates, had gone through the bids and verified them and is recommending award a construction contract to Precision Earth and Pipe for the project in the amount of $881,179. So we have with us in the packet tonight Resolution 2605, which awards a contract to Precision Earth and Pipe in that dollar amount for the council to consider and act on.
Are there any questions for the manager?
Randy, I've got a question. The low bidder is roughly $260,000 less than what the next highest bidder was. And Mr. Gay is not here to explain, are we sure we're gonna be getting a good contractor to do this work for us, being that much of a lower bid?
Yeah, I was concerned about that also, and Mike has gone through and double-checked their numbers and talked to the company regarding their bid, and they stand by their bid. Now, they submitted a bid bond, so, and we'll have a performance bond, so if they get into this project and they find out there are insurance bonds in place.
I don't want them getting down the road and saying, oh, my goodness, we've got to raise the price up some more, because the cheapest bid is not always the best bid.
Understood, yes.
So,
Yeah,
I was concerned about it being that much less than what the other one was.
yeah, but that's what we rely on the expertise of our project engineer for.
Okay, and do we have a clause in the contract that, on the completion date, if they're not finished by a certain date, that they start paying us back?
Yeah, that's standard language in our construction projects, you know, there's a given number of days for completion. If they fail to meet that, there's typically a $500 a day penalty that they pay to the town for not reaching that substantial completion date. Now, there's some variances in that if you
Right.
string of bad weather, things like that.
All right.
Okay, if there are no other questions, I hear a motion to approve resolution 2026-05, awarding an $881,719 construction contract to Precision Earth and Pipe for the Regency Estate Sewer Repair and Rehabilitation Project.
Based on Randy's explanation for it, I move to approve it.
Second.
All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. The next item on our agenda is the Excess Sewer Project.
Mayor and council, we also had a bid letting for the Excess Sewer project. And we got 5 bids on that, and they came from HG Rentals and Henderson, from Henderson, North Carolina, for $562,876. BCS Contractors from Nashville for $570,496. Ed Braswell and Sons from Rocky Mount for $578,961. Precision Earth and Pipe from Raleigh, $584,529, and Ralph Hodge Construction Wilson for $668,696. Again, our project engineer is Mike Tolson with Mac Gay and Associates. He's gone through the bids and verified them, that they total what the numbers that the contractors put on. And he is recommending award of this project to HG Rentals for the project in the amount of $562,876.
Any questions for Randy? If not, do I hear a motion to approve Resolution 2026-04, awarding a $562,876 construction contract to HD Reynolds Construction, Henderson, North Carolina, for the Essex Road Sewer Extension Project?
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
The next item on our agenda is the special event applications.
Mayor and council, we have these special event permits annually for the Farmers Market, the Blooming Festival, and the Children's Christmas Parade. And since several of these are Coys, I'll have Coy take over.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. A lot of these are very similar to our events last year. Starting with the Farmers Market, we have it starting April 17th and running every Friday until August 28th. And the time for those we have on the permit from 11 to 9:30. The actual Farmers Market we're planning to be the same time as last year, which is 3 to 7. We give ourselves some flexibility in there in case we want to have the food truck come early, or if we have music playing later than the market. And then after August 28th, we do one market per month in the fall. The dates for those are September 18th, October 16th, November 20th, and December 4th. Next, for our events, we have the Trick or Treat Street event, which is scheduled for October 26th, October 30th, 2026. And it will be very similar to this year's event, same time. That is an event that we partner with the Nashville Police Department, Fire Department, Nashville County Sheriff's Office, Nashville Chamber of Commerce, Carroll D. Pooley Library, Nashville County Recreation. And we block off the downtown street. We have a lot of people come where they can give out candy to people that are decorating, that are wearing costumes for Halloween. We have a costume contest as well as food trucks, and then we end the event with a driving style movie in the county courthouse parking lot. And the last one we have is the downtown Christmas celebration, which we partner with the Nashville Chamber of Commerce. That event is scheduled for Saturday, December 5th from 1 to 7. And again, we invite children from the area to come and decorate a bike that they ride through a parade. Prior to the actual parade, we have some activities in the courtyard of the county building. The bike parade ends at our Christmas tree. We have a quick Christmas tree lighting ceremony, and then Santa comes for pictures. And the last one we have today is the Lemon Festival. I know Clinton is here. Would you like to say anything about it? I went out of order, but the last permit we have today is the annual Blooming Festival, which is always Mother's Day weekend. We do have the carnival starting on Wednesday, May 6th, and runs through May 9th. And the actual festival is on Friday, May 8th, and through May 9th. The festival features live music on Washington Street in downtown, as long as several vendors. On Saturday, there is also a parade that runs, starts on First Street Extension, goes down Washington Street, turns on Austin Street, back on Church Street, and then up Body Street. I'm glad to answer any questions you may have.
If there,
Corey, if you would, please make note or reiterate that the Blooming Festival is for on the 8th and the 9th, but it actually kicks off on that Thursday at the Methodist Church, which every year we struggle to try to make sure it fills up. There's always great entertainment on that Thursday night, and people seem to overlook that or don't realize it's there. But on Thursday night is the actual kickoff for the Blooming Festival for entertainment.
Arts Council, I believe.
Arts
Huh?
Council,
It's Arts Council.
What did I
Yes,
say?
sir.
Methodist Church.
Arts Council, I'm sorry.
Yes,
Thank you.
sir. And the kickoff concert is Lynette Barber at Nash Arts, and it is a free event.
Right.
Kicking off the start of the Blooming Festival.
Is there no other
I have
questions?
one comment, is the point of, just so you won't use the same map. On, I lost the page, but on the map for the bike parade, or any of these maps, make sure we include the Church Street parking lot that we put rock on, because it wasn't, on page 24, it wasn't marked.
Yes, sir.
Oh,
We'll
yeah.
make sure to add that.
Right.
Any other comments? If not, do I hear a motion for us to open for a public hearing concerning these special event applications?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there anyone that would like to speak concerning any of these? If not, do I hear a motion for us to close the public hearing?
Move to close.
Is there a
Second.
All those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
So at this time, do I hear an agreement to approve all these special event dates that was given to us by Corey?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. The next item on our agenda is the conditional rezoning Braswell Millings Truck Yard.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. As you know, last year we had Braswell come in for a rezoning of these properties that the town initiated. After discussion with the council that evening, we told Braswell we thought it'd be better fitted if they go with conditional rezoning. Trey did agree with that and thought that that would be a better use for those properties. So this evening we have those properties before you again: 113 East Railroad Street, 117 East Railroad Street, 813 South Austin Street. Those properties are either zone R10 and B1. Trey is asking for conditional non-residential zoning industrial. If you turn to page 31 in your packet, you can see Trey has sent a letter stating he is unable to attend tonight due to some other endeavors he had to be to, but he entrusts the town to be able to get the application and present it to the council. Trey just went back in and updated the application on page 32. He changed from just outline industrial rezoning to conditional non-residential industrial zoning. The question's still the same, and the answer's still the same. On page 35, Trey submitted the deed. On page 37 in your packet, you can see the letter that we sent out to 75 property owners. We have submitted all 75 of those property owners in your packets for the record. On page number 41, you can see the properties that we are asking to have rezoned to 117. The parcel that's right off South Austin Street, which is the truck washing bay, and the parcel that is off of Railroad Street. As we stated, Trey has proposed this rezoning, has agreed to the town when we proposed it to him. If you look north of the property, it is I-1 Industrial Use, Braswell Milling Company. South, B1, the truck washing station. East is I-1 Industrial Mercantile, and to the west is R10. I believe the town council is pretty much familiar with B1 R10 zoning. I think you'll already understand what conditional zoning non-residential is from the other ones we've done. Our comp plan has this slated for low density. And right now in our low density, the preferred use is single family detached homes, institutional uses. If you turn to page 46, you can see a description of the property right there. 117 East Railroad is 0.38 acres. South Austin Street, the truck washing bay is 0.89 acres. 813 South Austin Street is 0.63 acres. Currently, right now, they're being used for the manufacturing milling operation, the truck wash station, and the vacant land that falls in the town of Nashville zoning jurisdiction. If you look on page 46 and 47, those are photos of the property where we posted the sign. Same thing on page 48. If you look at the bottom of 48, you will see that we pretty much have given you a vicinity map showing the properties once again where they are zoned today, B1 and R10. And if we go to page 49, you'll look at our future land use map. As we stated already earlier, it is slated for low density residential. If we look into the project's history, Braswell Farms, upon the town of Nashville request, submitted the application on Friday, August 18, 2025. An updated version of the application was resubmitted September 25, 2025. The properties are being serviced by town water and sewer in the town of Nashville at the property at 813 South Austin Street. Public hearing notices were mailed out to 75 property owners within a 500-foot radius on July 25th. That was for the first rezoning case. The town of Nashville had a public hearing on this matter on August 26th. During that evening, a letter was read out loud for the rezoning hearing prior to the engagement being submitted. The letter was also attached to your packets. That letter was from Ms. Cheryl Alexander on 811 South Austin Street. The planning board that evening approved the rezoning request by a motion by Ross Strickland, second by Eddie Thomas. This was brought to the town council on September the 2nd, where a motion was made by council member Larry Taylor and second by council member Xavier Harrison that the motion take no action on it and that they go back and speak with Trey about doing conditional rezoning. Once we spoke with Trey and he agreed to conditional rezoning, we sent letters out again to 75 property owners on a 500-foot radius on December the 12th. The rezoning sign was placed back on the property on December 17th. The notice of this hearing for both meetings for the town council and the planning board ran on January the 15th, 22nd, and 29th of the Nashville Graphic. The front door was posted on December the 11th. The town of Nashville Harold D. Cooley Library and our Parks and Recreation Center posted their notice on December 17th. The town of Nashville TRC, Technical Review Committee, reviewed this on July the 28th, where they recommend approval of the rezoning, and that was for their first one. We sent this out electronically again to the TRC, where they were approve the conditional rezoning now. The subject property is not located within a floodplain, and the subject property is located in the Stony Creek, Upper Stony Creek subwatershed, and the subject property is slated on our future land use as low density. On January 2026, the Town Council Planning Board voted in favor of this. Even though it was inconsistent with our future land use map, they felt that this was needed because the campus is already being used for what's already in operation as a non-conforming use. Our comprehensive plan shows that you have to have a reason why you're not designated as spot zoning. The request is not spot zoning because the subject property will be rezoned to conditional zoning non-residential industrial where these uses are allowed. The future land use plan has this property slated as low-density residential, but rezoning the property to CNR industrial allows the growth of Braswell Milling Company in a controllable method that continues to promote harmony with the neighboring properties. The allowed uses that are being asked for have already been in use on the property as a non-conforming use. The subject property is in harmony with the request since the property does have road frontage off East Railroad Street and South Austin Street. Mayor and Council, that is the TRC's recommendations. That is the project in a scope for you. So, Mayor, I will yield back to you to open up the public hearing. And if anybody signed up, we will allow them to speak. If not, we can poll the audience, Mayor.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to open up the public hearing?
So made.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to this conditional rezoning of Braswell Millings Truck Yard? If not, do I hear a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So at this time, do I hear a motion to approve the rezoning of the parcels on East Railroad Street and East Railroad Street and parcels on South Austin Street under conditional non-residential I and rezone the property with ordinance 2026-02?
Mayor,
Yes.
before we do that, I just have a question of clarity.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Sean, just a point of clarity in layman's language. Essentially, what you said was this is rezoning language cleaned up
Yes, sir.
to modernize where we are with our ordinances as we are updating our ordinances, but nothing has changed
No.
as the per usage for what Braswell Milling will be able to do with their property, other than what they're continuing to maintain and what they have already been doing.
Yes, sir, Commissioner Harrison, that is correct. Trey will continue to use it for storage of goods indoor, outdoor, manufacturing, assembly, processing, distribution, animal feed preparation, motor vehicle maintenance and repair, the truck washing base station, and the feed mill. Pretty much he will not be adding anything on. If he ever decides to add on, of course, he would have to come back before the planning board and council. And Trey has been aware when we sent out the first letter saying that if this is approved, it does not go in effect until he signs to agree to the consent to the conditional rezoning. But nothing will be added on from the scope of what's already going on there, sir.
Thank you for the clarity.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, did I get a motion to approve this?
Move to approve.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. The next item on our agenda is zoning ordinance amendments.
Cool.
Sean?
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Give us a brief second to plug in Mr. Harvey. He truly apologized this evening for not being able to make it. He, with the weather stuff, it was just not a good time, but he said he was here to be glad to be here virtual. Michael, can you hear us, sir? I was coming through the,
It might be.
Michael, try to hear, sir. You coming, I think you're coming through the projector.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We got to just get this mic lined up to the proper place. All right, Michael, we will turn it over to you, sir.
Well, good evening. I hope everybody's as safe as they can be. I've heard on the news you all are having a lot more fun than you want to, so God bless. All right. Sean, am I on video as well or just audio? All right, so thank you all for the accommodation. My road is still not plowed, so it's still a sheet of ice, and it's been fun staying at the house. So as I understand it, the next agenda item is the review of 3 separate ordinance regulations concerning amendments to the zoning ordinance and the town code to address various land use issues. And if you'll forgive me for just 1 second, I want to pull up the agenda packet. As I understand it, and if it's at the board's pleasure, the first item is the proposed amendment dealing with the creation of the I-2 heavy industrial district. Is that correct? All right. If you will forgive me, everybody should be able to see my screen and should see the ordinance amendment, correct? Okay. So we were directed by town staff to initiate a process to create a zoning text amendment to create a new, what we're terming heavy industrial district I-2. So the amendment involves amending section 18-86, as you can see here, to create reference to the district. The next amendment obviously comes down to the Nashville dimensional standards in section 18-89, where we actually created the minimum lot width and the setbacks for the district, as you can see here. We obviously mirrored and paired this with the existing I-1 district for simplicity's sake. Everything okay on your end? Sorry, I just heard somebody talking. I didn't want to interrupt, so forgive me. Next, we did an amendment to section 18-108, description of districts, where we created the definition of the district, which you can see here on the screen. This was something that both Randy, or all 3 of us, Randy, Sean, and I put together. I believe it captures the overall intent and purpose of the district to allow for what I will call your heavier industrial land uses. It also would allow for scientific technology land uses, wholesale distribution land uses, storage, manufacturing, and production. We added language at the manager's office request, which I've highlighted. Industries in this district shall take all necessary actions, including but not limited to installation of apparatus and technological equipment available to prevent negative impacts on the environment and the community from the emissions of smoke, dust, fumes, noise, and vibrations. Remember, your ordinance has some references to regulatory standards controlling these, but primarily the chief regulatory standard that applicants would have to abide by are those covered within state law. Specifically dealing with both noise and air quality issues. So as we continue to move forward, the next amendment to the code actually came down to the actual table permitted uses, which I've highlighted, where we actually created the I-2 district. And I'm sorry if the question is what page. I'm afraid that all I have is the text amendment that Sean sent me, so I don't have the actual packet itself. So my apologies. Sorry. Thank you. It was decided that what we would like to recommend we do is create the district, and then at a future session, the planning staff, the manager would give me direction on land uses. And I don't want to speak for Randy or Sean, but one option that was discussed was joint sessions with the planning board and town council, either at one session or independent sessions with both boards separately, to try to identify land uses that would be appropriate for that district. We are certainly able to proceed any way the town council advises, but for the purposes of this amendment, we are not populating the district yet. And that was the last section of the code amended. And part of the reason that we didn't want to choose land use is because everyone determined it would be beneficial to have a conversation about what standards would exist in the I-2 district, presuming the town council voted to approve the creation. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions you all have at this time. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to try to stop sharing my screen. There we go.
We're gonna, later on, we're gonna make it, so it's not really there yet. It's kind of like,
The I-2, if it's voted approved tonight, the I-2 will be there. We just won't have particular land uses slated for it. We're gonna come back and do that in round 2. We thought it'd be best just to go ahead and introduce it first. If we thought it'd be best to just introduce the district first and then come back in the next round and say, these are the uses of the 8 table land uses that we think should be allowed to. And we're gonna probably start working on that first thing before. We've got an idea already in our table allowed use of what we wanna go in there. We just wanted to go step 1, step 2.
so I guess my question is, what happens if somebody comes in tomorrow and says, hey, I heard y'all voted on I-2, I want to be in that, but we don't have anything to give them, so how do we proceed from there?
What we would do, Councilman, is we would probably, if somebody did come in tomorrow and say, I want to be an I-2, we would just tell them that right now the town is in orders of creating uses for I-2, and that we would take that into consideration. And right now, we would still treat them as we treat everybody else. I-1 district, and the same guys I-1 district.
Sean, just make sure you keep in the forefront of what the council's wishes were for.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm getting at.
Yes, sir.
Let's don't be creating stuff that. I'll hold my peace for now. But you know.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Harvey,
lose sight of what we want.
maybe you can explain it to me a little bit. Instead of doing it twice, why aren't we doing it once? That's the question, I guess. He's talking, I think, back there. He froze. I think he froze.
Froze up.
I'm in support of it. My mind's telling me we just need to wait and do it all at one time. But tell me why we need to do it twice, and I'll listen.
Hey, Michael, were you able to hear that question from the council, sir?
I was, and the only answer I can give you is that this was the preferred methodology that the staff and the manager's office felt would be most advantageous to create the district and allow both the planning board and the elected officials appropriate time to determine what land use would fall into that category to actually create the district and potentially anyone that wanted to look at I-2 and have it be a cooperative, proactive discussion versus a knee-jerk reaction. If the board chooses to delay, then we would need to meet with the planning board to discuss land uses and meet with the town council also to discuss land uses before we create the district.
Bill, a little bit of clarification. I understand where you're coming from, but keep in mind, they've created this, just have not assigned physical things to go into the district.
I got that.
But even at that point, it still has to come back by this board.
Right.
So we still have room to go.
I guess it's okay.
Yeah.
That's kind of what we meant to do when we put the cart before the horse.
We need to have a public hearing on this, don't we?
Yes, we do.
Sean, one option the board has is to indicate that they are satisfied with the amendment packages presented, but before adoption, they want to have meetings with both the planning board and obviously with themselves, with staff, to discuss land use options to populate the district. But if they want to give taciturn approval to the definition of the district and how it's been laid out in the code, and authorize staff to discuss land uses over the next 30 to 60 days, we can certainly do that if that would address the board's comfort level.
Well, I think we need to consider what they've asked for, and he gave us that. And so I think we need to go with this, and then, like he said, you know, then fill in the blank. But give them a right to go in and do that, and then we can have our meetings with the other. That's my thinking.
We probably can have you a drafted version table now use in about a week or 2 weeks from now. Me and Michael have already had some offline discussion. We know what needs to be in our 2 weeks and what is happening.
Based on that, I move to go forward with this, approve this.
We've got to have a public hearing first, and then you make that motion. Okay, do I hear a motion to open the public hearing concerning this matter of our zoning ordinance amendments?
So move.
Second? Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to these zoning ordinance amendments? If not, do I hear a motion to come out of the public hearing?
Move to come out.
Second.
And so now do I have a motion that we approve this land use regulation creating the I-2 heavy industrial district, use sign regulations, do flood damage prevention regulations, and approve the amendments with the passage of ordinance 2026-03.
Move to approve.
Hold on, Mayor. Before we move forward, let Michael do the public hearing for the sign and the flood prevention ordinance,
Okay.
so we can make sure we cover both of those.
Okay.
So before we make a motion to approve, just withdraw it, and then we can let them cover those, then we can come right back
Okay.
to your final motion. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So we won't have to do a public hearing for every one.
Right.
I withdraw my motion.
Michael, we'll turn it back over to you, sir, to go over the sign and flood prevention. Then we'll do another public hearing, then we'll go into public service.
Okay. So I'm sharing my screen again. You should be seeing the flood damage prevention ordinance. So a couple quick things for everybody's edification and reminder. While you have some liberality to adopt a flood ordinance that has more restrictive standards than FEMA, you have to adopt an ordinance that meets their minimum model code. I am not of the opinion that the town of Nashville, nor any community in North Carolina right now, wants to be looking at increasing flood damage prevention standards for the simple reason that there's an argument that that could constitute the creation of a nonconformity, which is no longer permitted under state law. So until we get a fix to what was adopted in December of 24, what InFocus staff has done is provide the town with an updated ordinance that meets the minimum model as required by FEMA for you all to continue to implement and enforce flood damage prevention regulations. A lot of the updates involve making sure that all of your definitions, which is what I'm cycling on the page now, are now updated and consistent with what both the state FEMA staff and the federal FEMA staff have told local communities they have to be compliant with. One area where there's concern about how we are going to continue to meet some FEMA requirements, and I'm going to skip now to the definition of regulatory floodway to give you my example. One of the things that you'll hear from FEMA is that the flood insurance rate maps or firm maps are the best available data identifying where flooding is going to occur during a storm event, how high it's going to be. Communities are encouraged, however, to adopt more restrictive standards to try to address impacts to public health, safety, and welfare. That's typically called a base flood elevation or BFE, where units of local government are encouraged to actually require additional elevation for the first floor of habitable living space and utilities in order to ensure that the flood regulations are actually accomplishing what they're designed to do. The town currently enforces a 2-foot freeboard requirement. So let me explain what that practically means. If you're in a flood zone and FEMA's determined that there is a base flood elevation of 750 feet, meaning that their hydrologic engineering model suggests that's how high floodwaters are going to get. You required an additional 2 foot, meaning that the first floor of habitable living space and all utilities have to be 2 foot above 750. Specifically, 752 feet becomes the regulated flood protection elevation. FEMA is now recommending communities look at 4 foot to even 6 foot. That's not something North Carolina communities can do at this juncture because of how state law was changed. I can tell you, being a certified floodplain manager for about 20 some odd years, the 2 foot freeboard requirement is the basic standard. 4 or 6 foot is probably more advantageous. And I would encourage communities to think about that, with the one glaring exception that we can't do anything until the state of North Carolina addresses how we are to look at the creation of nonconformities. If in focus staff were to recommend that you change your elevation model to a 4 foot freeboard, existing structures in Nashville would be classified as being non-conforming. And that sets those property owners up to fail. So that's one example of where FEMA actually encourages more restrictive standards that we just don't feel comfortable recommending you do until the North Carolina General Assembly fixes how downzoning and the creation of nonconformities is addressed. Are there any questions on that before I summarize the rest of the ordinance?
What page is this on again? What page are we on again?
Page 6 says what we just talked about,
58.
regulatory flood prevention, protection elevation, 2 feet freeboard.
Okay, I don't, what line is that? I don't see that little.
It's page 68, Bill Councilman Lump. It's the second definition. Regulatory flood prevention, protection elevation.
Okay.
Michael, will yield back to you, sir.
All right, so again, what In Focus is recommended and the town staff has concurred with is we're maintaining the existing regulatory limitations you already imposed through your floodplain program. We're not going to be recommending or suggesting a higher standard at this time. So all the definitions have been updated and modernized to meet the minimum code requirement for FEMA. That includes how we deal with substantial damage and substantial improvement. If you have a structure that is damaged exceeding 50% of the market value of the structure, it has to be brought into compliance with the flood regulations, which typically means you have to elevate the structure. That is a standard FEMA requirement, and it's designed to ensure that if you either make improvements or you have substantial damage or impacts to a structure, that the property owner is obligated to address compliance with current flood regulations. So we are meeting the FEMA minimum model requirements for that. We have included the new definition of technical bulletin because FEMA is asking us to, asking all participating communities to adopt it. Basis for establishing the special flood hazard area. This was highlighted as a tickler for me and Sean to make sure that I had the right date for when the town originally adopted its flood standard. There's no other rationale for being highlighted at this point, but I wanted to bring that to everyone's attention. Remember that this ordinance is enforced by a designated floodplain administrator, which can be any one of your staff. But remember, FEMA does require someone to be formally designated as the floodplain administrator. They want someone accountable, for all lack for a lack of a better way to put it. So we are maintaining that requirement and that provision in the code. As you continue through the ordinance, you actually have the independent requirements for what an individual has to go through and the procedures they have to follow to get appropriate permits for the development in and around a special flood hazard area. And that's covered in Section B, floodplain development application permit and certification requirements. The elevation standards, again, now reflect what both state and federal FEMA officials have agreed are the appropriate benchmarks to establish where elevations are taken from as it relates to what establishes the special flood hazard area. We have updated references in your current ordinance to the applicable FEMA forms that have changed in terms of elevation certificates, floodproofing certificates. We have also spelled out, and here's the elevation certificate section here, folks. We have also spelled out, as now required by FEMA, the specific responsibilities and duties of the floodplain administrator, and they're voluminous. Remember that from a corrective procedure standpoint, due to changes in state law, it's no longer a criminal penalty to violate the flood ordinance. It is a civil penalty. So people will be fined. You can take an individual who violates your flood ordinance to court, secure an injunction, secure civil penalties, and secure a corrective order. But just like with zoning regulations, you can no longer implement criminal penalties as related to the enforcement of this ordinance. Also, much the same as zoning, everyone who is given an order related to the enforcement of this ordinance does have rights of appeal. The appeal goes to your Board of Adjustment, which we have spelled out the various procedures herein. They are more arduous than those typically found in North Carolina state law and your current ordinance with respect to a variance. The board has to make the following findings, and I'm going to reduce the page a little bit so you can see. Thank you, Sean. So most variances under the current state law have to go through where the board makes 4 specific findings. FEMA has a much more arduous process. And since it's their ordinance you're enforcing, you have to play by their rules. There's also an expanded conditions for variances than what you currently have in your ordinance. We have centralized all of your standards. They currently appear in 2 or 3 different sections on the general standards of flood hazard reduction, including what can and cannot occur within a special flood hazard area, and then section B refers to the specific standards. There was a question at the planning board concerning if there was opportunity to modify or tweak FEMA's preferred model ordinance and its language, and the answer is that's not my recommendation. My recommendation to the town is that they adopt FEMA's ordinance updated appropriately for references to the town of Nashville's current flood program in terms of what is and is not enforceable, as well as make appropriate reference to the town of Nashville as the enforcing entity of this document. I'm not interested in setting up the town of Nashville to fail with having to meet with either state or FEMA federal staff, especially after a cataclysmic storm event, and argue why some of the provisions of the ordinance are not enforceable and potentially limit the town's opportunity to take advantage of disaster recovery aid. Does anyone have any questions at this time?
Board, if y'all are ready, we can move to 119 to sign ordinance. In focus, Mr. Harvey's updated.
We have to do a public about this or not?
Yeah, well, let's do a public hearing on this, then we'll say we get them all 3 seconds.
At this time, do I hear a motion that we open public hearing concerning the flood damage prevention that we've just gone through?
So moved.
Second.
Is there anyone here that would like to speak to this? If not, do I hear a motion that we come out of the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Carries.
Board, we can go to page 119 to sign the orders, and we'll do a public hearing on that one once Mr. Harvey concludes. Mr. Harvey?
All right, so the sign ordinance. What town staff had asked us to do is take your existing sign regulations and update them to ensure compliance with Supreme Court case Reed v. Gilbert, which obviously established that you have to have content neutral regulation, meaning it doesn't matter what the sign says. It only matters its height, its area, and its location. There are several provisions of your current regulations that could be construed as regulating of signage, which you cannot do. So we worked with your planning staff and your manager to come up with a draft sign ordinance that was content neutral. And I'm going to share my screen. Can everybody see the sign ordinance? Okay. We have bolstered your findings section, as noted here, dealing with that while signs do serve a legitimate public service purpose, there's a need to preserve the right of free speech. There is also a need to promote the reasonable, orderly, and effective display of signage, so you don't create a negative impact on the local environment. So we have expanded your findings section, your overall purpose and intent section, and to ensure that there's adequate reference to the town's ultimate goal and interest, which is the fair and equitable development of signage that doesn't create a visual blight on the community while protecting local property owners' rights to free speech. We have a provision dealing with outdoor advertising, and I'm going to turn that in a moment. We're going to turn it over to Randy. There is a modification that is recommended. We'll get to that in a moment. Remember that there are state and federal regulations that preempt a lot of what communities can do as it relates to outdoor advertising, otherwise known as billboards. And bluntly, what this standard does is effectively state that the town has outdoor advertising standards, but if there is a conflict with either state or federal regulations, the state and federal law will preempt. My hope is that we have crafted a standard that will not have to be preempted, but I will tell all of you listening to me what you already know. The North Carolina General Assembly has, over the last decade, loosened standards related to the maintenance and development of outdoor advertising structures. And it is conceivable that communities at some point in time in the future may lose general rights to regulate billboards, which would be maintained and regulated probably under the North Carolina Department of Transportation's permit process. For now, what we've done is amend your code to update references to federal and state rules that could preempt local regulation, to clarify that your ordinances are enforceable when there is no conflict, and that you still have legal authority to regulate outdoor advertising, at least for the time being. We have expanded your applicability section. There really are 4 types of signage that you allow in your jurisdiction. There's signage that's expressly prohibited. There's signage that is authorized, meaning it can be erected without any permits by the town. Signs that are permitted, meaning they have to get a permit, and then limited duration. Signs that can go up for a select period of time. And this ordinance does break out and establish the standards by which an applicant would have to, the regulations they would have to abide by, or standards they'd have to abide by in order to facilitate erection of the sign. Also, at your planning staff's request, and we worked on this for quite a while, we've included graphics and pictures denoting how the town staff is going to be making determinations with respect to, first bullet here, sign height, how height is measured, sign area, how sign area is calculated. We've provided graphic examples so that the layperson can understand how the staff is going to be looking at their sign. Your current ordinance didn't have this. In fact, as Sean pointed out to me when we began this review, there were certain elements of your current sign regulations that actually contradicted each other as it related to how the staff would determine what constitutes the sign area and what didn't. So we wanted to make sure that we gave you the tools necessary to be definitive when enforcing the standard and also helping the applicant understand what he or she is going to be allowed to do in your community. We have provided, to the best of our ability, examples of several different types of signs. We are now looking at a multi-face sign. Both your current planning staff asked if we could create a rendering, a picture, explaining how the measurement would take place and what would be classified as a multi-phase sign, what could be approved by the town staff. They felt that this met their requirements, so we included it. Remember that you are one cog in the permit machine when it comes to signage. You're issuing a zoning compliance permit. In many instances, signs are required to get a building permit as well through Nash County. So we included language that addressed that. Remember, with respect to sign variances, the only thing that can be varied pertains to height and location. An individual cannot seek a variance to get more sign area than currently afforded to the district. Bluntly, there is no hardship from that standpoint. If the town wants to allow larger signage for all parties, it would simply have to amend the code. So one example is, I'm just going to use the example of BB&T, a local bank, who may have a branch in your downtown area and says, well, we really need a bigger sign. Instead of a 24 square foot sign, we want a 48 square foot sign because we need to attract people to our bank. Well, the problem is, if everyone around you is complying with the 24 square foot sign limit, there is no unique hardship other than, well, we want a bigger sign. So we've included the language in the code effectively saying there is no variance proceeding from the sign area requirement because it is a commonly enforced standard within the community, and there's no opportunity to get a larger sign unless you want to amend the ordinance and allow it for all parties. Your current sign regulations do not deal with non-conforming signs and cessation of use very well, so we added standards to address that. We believe it gives your staff the tools to be more successful in sign enforcement. We also added a provision dealing with the removal of unsafe signs, a sign that may be deemed to be a hazard. Poorly maintained signs. We have also included, at Sean's request, a provision dealing with historic properties and their right to erect a landmark sign or display signage advertising a local historic district. Any questions thus far?
So we're going to give them 120 days if they're non-conforming. So let's pretend that McDonald's, who has a huge sign, changes companies. If the new company goes in within 120 days, are we still going to allow that sign to be there with a new sign, or are we going to make them take it down because it's a new company? Could be here.
Michael,
So if I heard the question correctly, and I'm sorry, I was listening, I'm having a speaker problem. So you have a business and it was a McDonald's. If the McDonald's goes out of business, then there's an obligation for McDonald's to remove the sign within 120 days of the use's cessation. If a new business wants to go into that location, then they would have to erect a sign that complies with your ordinance, is the direct answer to your question. So if McDonald's has a sign that is too large, any replacement of that sign has to be consistent with the standards upon which are enforced at the time of the actual sign permit application.
All sign comes down if the business is gone. Is that what we're saying?
you there, Michael?
We have 4 businesses, maybe 5, that have, I don't know, 200-foot signs that are non-conforming. Just want to make sure it's clear for all of us what happens if one of those goes out of business. And I see the 120 days, but I'm not clear on what I understand. So I want to make sure either it's worded correctly or make sure I'm reading it correctly.
So I guess I didn't hear all of it and I don't understand the concern, but is the concern that 120 days is too long for them to remove the sign, or?
Signs that are non-conforming, they're 200-foot high currently. As long as that business, my understanding, as long as that business is there, they can keep it. But if that business closes, what happens?
When that business closes, they have 120 days to remove the signs.
Sign. Okay, let's make sure it's clear.
That's right.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Can you point to me where that says that? Is that page 125?
Michael,
Yes.
125, when we're talking about the 120 days, Bill just wants to make sure in the wording, what we have, it states like you just said, if the business closes after 120 days, the sign has to be removed.
Yeah, that's what the standard reads now, correct. That's what we proposed.
But if we've got 4 people out there with 200-foot signs.
Now, that's based on the current allowance of state law.
Right.
Remember that there is discussion that the General Assembly, in fixing downzoning, the downzoning component, would actually establish a new statewide new non-conforming standard that we would have to incorporate into this code. So my answer may change if state law changes based on the current bill that the General Assembly had been reviewing.
If out of those 4,
Yes, sir.
say McDonald's goes out of business, moves or whatever, the sign has 120 days, the company has 120 days to remove that sign.
Correct.
If a similar business were to go back into that same location, would they be able to go back with a 200-foot sign, or do they have to conform to the new regulations?
That's my question.
They have to conform to new regulations.
So how would it be fair to the other 3, to the new one, when the other 3 can keep theirs up, and the new person cannot?
The word that we typically hate to say in land use and zoning, grandfathered in.
And when you're dealing with restaurants.
Also, remember, we added a provision dealing with demolished buildings, so let's take the example of McDonald's again, just because it was brought up. If they pull a permit to demolish the existing McDonald's, the signage has to be removed as well.
King Chicken
Right.
builds a place down there, or a hotel, in the same vicinity.
Yes, sir.
You telling me now that they cannot put a 200-foot sign up?
We didn't allow Burger King. They wanted it. We didn't.
Right, we didn't allow Burger King.
I'm okay with that. I want to make sure it's clear. I'm okay with it. Make sure it's clear.
But that's the road we're looking at. If you go and it tears down, you have to comply with today's ordinance of what's approved.
The reason I asked that question, because when it comes to restaurants or hotels or something like that, that may be a drawback for a hotel chain to come into town.
Right.
They can't put a,
If they can go down the road and put a sign.
well, like, we don't want them to go down the road, we want them here.
That's right.
Is that something that the council want us to address, to look at, to maybe go back with allowance of having those high-rise signs off of the B1 district right off of 64 bypass?
I just want to be,
Okay.
I want to be
Well-
fair to all of them.
Well, from an economic perspective, Mayor, if I may, from an economic perspective, I hear where you're coming from, and maybe that does need to be reviewed, because you don't want to lose economic growth in the future
Over some.
over signage. So you're going to need a little bit of leniency there, whether it's conditional or whether it's case by case. So, yeah, let's review that piece, and let's see what we can come up with that would be doable as it relates to our updating of our ordinance, but at the same time, in preparation for future economic growth.
We got 200 feet on the west side of town, but on the east side of town, the signs are down. We don't have any real long signs.
Well, it's everywhere.
Not in height.
Not height-wise. Height-wise.
You can't do it higher now.
I know. Yeah, no, on the east side of town.
Nowhere.
Really?
If I wanted to put a building behind, Burger King,
You couldn't put,
I couldn't put a high
you
rise.
couldn't put a high rise up there. But why would I
Under
want
current
to? Would it deter me to try to put my business out there when all my competitors next to me have a 200-foot sign, and like Burger King, mine is down low. Is that being fair to me? You see what I'm saying?
That's what you said, Councilman Taylor. I totally understand what you're saying.
well, Burger King came to us after they built the building, but that's another story.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Now, like I
Okay,
said, if y'all want us to, we can address that option and craft something just for that section over here in the B1 district. If y'all from West Washington Street over here, there's a height requirement that can be adjusted.
I mean, if we entertain the thought, I would want a foot distance from the highway to be the marker. So in other words, I wouldn't want it in downtown, obviously. But if it was 500 foot from the highway, I'd like to consider it. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, I think the distance to the highway should be the marker. But again, I don't know if I want to talk about it or not. I didn't bring it up for that reason.
Right.
There again, Mayor, I think based off of the discussion that we're having as a council, I think it would be advisable that we look at that text language
Yes, sir.
and try to see what options we may have, and then try to move forward. But other than that, I think the language looks good off the rest of what we're talking about. And the only reason I make that caveat there again is because of future economic growth that potentially could come to the area and benefit this community.
Yes, sir. What we could do, Mayor and Council, is continue on with what's being proposed. And if we do approve this tonight, we can have Mr. Harvey to look at, like Councilman Love and Councilman Taylor said, a height requirement on this side of Nashville, plus 64 bypass, and so many feet from the 64 bypass intersection to be a reasonable justification of being able to have a higher height sign, and then possibly bring that back to you within a month or two.
So Sean, I'm sorry, I'm trying to take some notes, and I want to make sure that I'm capturing the board's request. That the board would like to talk about opportunities to increase sign height in certain districts?
Yes, sir. Our B2 district over here by the 64 bypass, where the McDonald's, Bojangles, and Zaxby is located at, and be X amount of feet from the 64 highway to be able to have that height adjustment of a higher sign.
Okay.
We have to do it the other exit too.
It's, okay.
Right, and also
So-
the exit off of
If you did it.
Red Oak Road.
Do it for one year, do it for the other.
The only thing I'm going to caution, and it's not a problem for the elected officials to worry about at this stage of the conversation, as long as we're not inadvertently creating a non-conforming scenario, then we have some flexibility. We also are going to have to probably create some form of distinction, because what you have zoned near the bypasses, isn't it primarily B1, Sean?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay, and you have B1, I'm sure, throughout the town where you may not want a 60-foot tall sign, for example.
Yes, sir, that we do.
We may have to come up with some form of overlay to ensure that we're properly defining who gets the advantage of taller signage and who doesn't. We'll have to come up with some solution that protects the town from liability. So it is, to the board members who asked, it is plausible if you're trying to increase or be more flexible to address economic development activities. And that is something we can certainly bring back if the board wishes to proceed with the sign ordinance as written and come back with a tweak. Or if the board would prefer, we bring back language through the planning board, we can do that too. I'm at your disposal.
The word you used, advantage, kind of concerns me. I hate to get, I don't know why we stopped in the first place. I mean, I don't know what the answer is, having the high ones. And I don't know if I want to have the high ones again. I'm open for discussion, but at the same time, I'm concerned about advantage. So we can continue the conversation another time, but I have some pause for sure.
Do you want Sean to consider the tall signs on that, where the others are? Or what's your desire? He needs to know which direction to go.
Mayor, I think I was pretty clear when I made my statement a few moments ago that I like the text amendment. However, based off of what we were talking about with the large signs, for the caveat based off of future economic growth, that they would go back in and look at just that particular piece and try to give us some different language. I don't want to get tied up into the word game, advantage, non-advantage, but we're looking at it from an economic future perspective. And if they can give us that leeway, I think we can move on at this point.
Does everyone agree? Sean?
I agree, yes. Thank you. Michael, if you want to proceed on, sir, with the
All right.
sign ordinance, and then you can get offline with the stuff that was discussed this evening.
That's fine. We've added language dealing with utility clearance. The individual erecting the sign is responsible for ensuring appropriate clearance from any and all utilities. This is important. The town is not responsible for damage or repair or replacement of signs and supports that must be removed if there is a need to address utility clearance issues. What I don't need to happen is for you all to issue a permit and then the utility company make the statement that, well, we need a 15-foot or a 20-foot setback because that's our policy. Well, that's a private matter between the sign, the sign provider, the person that erected the sign, and the utility. The town should not have any involvement of that because the town doesn't have the authority to effectively regulate setbacks from utility apparatus or even easements. That's their purview, not yours. And one of the concerns I've actually seen happen in other communities is that the unit of local government gets dragged kicking and screaming, as it should kick and scream, into a fight between the property owner, the individual erecting the sign, and the unit of local government, where the unit of local government has basically told, well, you're permitted the sign, you need to compensate us for the loss of the sign. No, because it's not a standard enforced by the town. So we did include language to address that problem. We have addressed wind load requirements to go to building code. I have a new subsection I that was added at Sean's request, dealing with off-premise commercial signs, except multi-tenant signs in the B1 district. Sean, I'm not sure if this made the board's copy or not, but I wanted to highlight it. and maybe give you an opportunity to explain a little bit as well. This is to address some existing development in your community, and again, not create nonconformities, but also provide some level of flexibility for a multi-tenant development where you may effectively have a sign that may not necessarily be on the subject parcel where the shopping center, office complex, business park is located.
A lot of mixed use is going to be coming into the town as they repurpose some of these older, heavy mercantile buildings for mixed use. And you may have it where the person may not want to place the sign right in front of the building. It may be a parking lot or something before the building. They may want to place there so it's closer to the street. So this is why me and the town manager both came up with some conversation with Mr. Harvey to have some change in the words so that we can allow these type of signs. And we can read it for you.
Yeah, because we don't have that, right?
No worries.
10, we don't, 128, we don't have that.
And I'm gonna go right here. Off-premise commercial signs are not permitted except multi-tenant in a B1 zoning district at the primary interest of a multi-tenant development. One off-site freestanding sign may represent a businesses on individual parcels with a shopping center on which all parcels or storefronts are allowed on one place lot to exceed 20 square feet. The name of the multi-tenant development may be added, but it's also not to exceed 20 square feet. The total area of the sign shall not exceed 200 square feet, including the shopping center name. These signs must not exceed 30 feet in height, and all interior freestanding signs shall be separated from this sign by not less than 150 feet.
So basically what you're saying is it'd be like a little marker for each tenant that's in that one building.
Yes, sir. And then they'll just have the sign. The perfect example would be if they decide to apply for one somewhere like the Nashville Junction. You got the building here, the parking lot. If they put the sign right in front of the junction, you're going down Barnes Street. But right there on that little corner, there's a great place where they can put a sign and show them these are the businesses here. This is the Nashville Junction at top.
Not to exceed 30 feet.
Yes,
For
sir.
the board, here's a pictorial example of a multi-tenant development sign we've included in your code.
Is that in our package?
It is page 140.
Well, we've got something very similar to that out at Walmart.
Yes, sir. That's a standing billboard style. This will be more you want this lower to the ground.
I just wanted everyone to see kind of an example of what multi-tenant would be looking like. All right, so want to remind everybody that I said there were signs that could be erected, authorized signs that don't necessarily require a permit. Announcement signs would be allowed in any district. This could be and include political signs during campaign season, or even what I'll call public message signs. They're permitted in all districts. They're limited to 6 square feet in area and a 4-foot height, and they cannot be illuminated. Just a sign put on someone's property. An address sign should not require a permit, nor should internal directional or safety signs. So when you have a large-scale commercial development, you can have signage directing people to specific land uses, entrance, exits, loading zones, etc. Those are 4 square foot in max area, 4 foot in height. Flags, we have established pole allowances. In residential, 1 pole per lot with a max 3 signs on the pole. In a non-residential, you can have 3 poles per street frontage. And we do have some standards regulating flags consistent with recent changes in state law. We have references to historical and memorial markers, menu board signs, 1 sign per drive-through, limited to 24 square feet in area. We establish regulations for murals. If they don't contain advertising material, they don't count as signage. You can have one on the side or a rear facade. That's what was suggested. That's what we suggested. The town staff concurred. We established standards for real estate and construction signs. We also established standards for vending in or automated teller machine and window signs. Window signs can only be a certain percentage of the total window area. Some other signs that are authorized, not subject to additional standards. Remember, fence wrap signs. When you have a construction project, you can have a fence wrap put around the construction fencing, having advertising material for the development. That's exempted from local regulation by North Carolina General Statute, which we included the reference. We have established specific standards, number limit, setbacks, etc. How directional and safety signs are handled with respect to flags. Remember what state law says. You can only regulate the American flag if you do an evaluation and provide written findings identifying a public health, safety, or welfare concern justifying the enforcement of a flag size limit. In absence of the community doing that, you cannot establish a size limit for the American or the flag of the state of North Carolina. If you want to base a standard on use, you have to involve the North Carolina Department of Transportation. They have to make a finding. This all results from a court case that happened in Greenville concerning a large American flag, I believe, at an RV sales depot. The only thing you can regulate is pole and max flag size, provided it's not the American or the state of North Carolina flag. And then we've established a residential district limit of 50 foot. We've provided graphic examples of the institutional and directory signs and how they are to be developed and what they're to be classified as. Here's the pictorial example of a menu board. The standards on murals, real estate construction signs. They can't be placed within any public right-of-way, and they have to be removed within 30 days of the property being transferred. That's either sold, leased, or rented. The example of window signs in terms of what constitutes the 25%. We hope that the graphics at least convey what standard the town is looking to enforce. With respect to permitted signs, we have spelled out max number size and provided examples of what those signs look like. A lot of these standards are existing regulatory provisions. Freestanding sign monument, freestanding sign pole mounted. We've also, as you've already seen, provided freestanding sign multi-tenant. That was at both planning staff members' requests. They thought that was going to be essential. We agreed. We established the setbacks, the clearance, any landscaping requirement, a height limit, and all other assortment of standards allowable sign area. Wall signs. Again, the caps are consistent with your current ordinance. A projecting sign, you'll find this primarily in your B2 district, I know, where it comes off the side of the structure. 24 square foot max limit. Awning sign and how it's measured and regulated is listed here. Marquee sign, this could be a movie theater, or it could be someone that has a projecting architectural apparatus from their structure, how large the sign can be. Obviously, as an example, there's going to be no canopy or, no landscaping required with a marquee sign, just to give you that one example. Canopy signage, this is typically on gas stations or garages. Establish a sign limit. Gas pump signage, 4 square foot above or on top of the actual canopy itself. This is the outdoor advertising section, and this is where I'm going to ask the town manager Randy, I know that there was a district that we had discussed the planning board adding. And was it the ag district?
That was in outdoor advertisement, Michael. Yes, sir.
So,
They got- and
right
they-
here.
They got it, Michael. For them for you, sir. But that's where it was at.
Right, but this was what, A1?
Areas we have some outdoor advertising billboard signs. Then we thought that it was just business. We didn't think about it. So I had to have some discussions with local sign maker Tim Glasgow. He brought to our attention. We went in and got it added back in.
Where's that at?
And that is on page 148, where you can see guys allowed in B1 and A1.
Now, we have a pictorial example of a billboard sign. We can certainly change the pictorial example if the board directs. It's what I have in my draft ordinance, and some communities adopt it as is, some don't. I leave it up to you all. And we conclude the signed ordinance by establishing electronic sign standards. And what this is primarily designed to do is to ensure that you don't have an electronic sign that is so bright that it creates a public safety hazard for motorists or pedestrians. Limited duration signs deal with your temporary banners, now open or even pennants. They're really designed to advertise special events or other activities occurring at local businesses. There is a permit requirement. There is a time limit. Your current ordinance references that they're time limited in duration, but it doesn't necessarily spell out what that time limit is. We say 30 days. And with that, that is a good synopsis of the signed ordinance as proposed. Were there any questions?
Any questions? We have to have a public hearing on the signs.
Yes, ma'am.
Do I hear a motion to open for a public hearing for our signage?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to that?
Nancy Westbreak, Nashville Graphic. I have 4 questions, and I think it would be easier if I just asked them each one at a time rather than hit you with all 4 at once. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Question number 1, concerning the multi-tenant sign. In the past, I believe there's been some discussion about concerning the Nashville Junction, potentially having a sign in the public right-of-way at the intersection of Barnes and West Washington. Would this be allowed? Because it's not his property there. But the discussion that I've heard in the past, and I can't place where I heard it was having to do with the junction expressing a desire to let people know they're there. People coming in on the main thoroughfare of West Washington. So I'm trying to figure out if this would be allowed there, a multi-tenant sign off-site.
It cannot be allowed in the public right of way, but it could be allowed on the town's property in that area.
Well, the town is part of the junction.
And if I can interject quickly, that's one of the reasons this section was added, subsection I, to address that very question.
So your answer is it couldn't be in a public right-of-way, but it could be put on town property wherever town property is.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Question number 2. I asked Sean for some clarification before tonight's meeting about the A-frame sandwich signs, but I didn't hear that addressed tonight, and I wanted to make sure that I understood that those type of signs that are currently in temporary use along West Washington in front of the stores, those are okay and would not need to be regulated because they're temporary. That's correct?
That's correct, Nancy. We're still going to treat them as temporary signs because at the end of the day, You
Right.
take the sign and put it back in the building.
But is that in here? Because I didn't see it.
Sean handles those as temporary signage.
Okay. All right. Question number 3. I could be wrong about this, but I think prior to my coming to the graphic, there was discussion at some point about the sign in front of Nash Arts. As far as questions about if it could be changed, is it big enough, something about its placement. So my basic question there is, under these new guidelines, would there be any changes permissible to the Nash Arts sign the way it is now?
We would have to check the zoning Nancy to see where it falls at, and then they would just apply by the applicable standards of the ordinance.
So, answer is it kind
I
of
can't-
depends on what zone they're in and what
Right.
they're asking?
Yes, I can't tell you right now. We would just have to tell them to, once we find out their zoning, we would tell them these are the standards that the sign must be meet to if they want it expanded or tear down the building new one.
Okay. And then the last question should be easy. What are the names of the 4 businesses with the giant signs that you were referencing? The really tall ones. You said there were 4.
It's all the ones down.
Down this
Bojangles,
end.
Hardee's,
Bojangles,
McDonald's.
Hardee's,
Maybe 3.
Bojangles, Hardee's,
McDee's,
McDonald's,
and who?
How about,
It might be 3.
and Ribeyes. Ribeyes is the 4th one. That's right. It's Ribeyes.
It's 3 or 4.
Okay,
And I'll
and
give them to you at the end of the meeting. I'll pull it up.
okay. And they're really, never mind. I'll ask you that question later. Okay, cool. Thanks.
thanks, Nancy. Cliff?
Question is, as far as sign square footage and everything, how would that compare to what signs that are existing now? How many signs would be out of compliance with what your new things are?
Cliff, right now, according to me, Mr. Harvin, we read everything. It wouldn't be done. We're just kind of giving some more regulations to signage, give some more illumination, stuff like that.
But I'm guessing the effect of how it would be in Nashville, wherever a sign
Wherever.
would be, that now if it's now 8x8 sign and you're saying it can only, something else could only be a 6x4.
Right.
Do you have that many
Yes.
that are not, would not fall into that range, or do you have an idea?
Right now, I don't think we have that many that would fall into that range. It's a very slim number if there is.
Would there be grandfather in?
And that's where it goes, once again, that grandfather did. That term that we don't like to use.
Only if they need to change or the business changes with the change.
With a child.
But just say where I'm at now, if
Right.
change out the Edward Jones sign and it, whatever square footage it is now, if it is going to be a bigger one or whatever, could it go, or it would have to be determined by whatever you're applying now?
We're in B2, Chris, so you got-
Just kind of curious to see if places downtown would change out signs, what would be the effect? An
So
existing
just for
business.
downtown, what you have is a wall sign, that is B2. So the new orders would say you'll be capped at 200 square feet in the B2 district. No, you'll be capped at 100 square feet in the B2 district. So it pretty much be about exactly where you're at now.
10 by 10. Okay, just, I wanted to see if it was going to impact existing
Yes,
people.
sir.
We don't want to do that.
Thank you, Cliff. Anybody else?
So I see where
We need your name
You-
and your address up here.
400 Glover Park, Mora,
State your name.
Amir Mujali. So you talked about the signs where these businesses are, like example McDonald's. So if McDonald's say went out of business and it was on line for sale, somebody purchased it within 30 days, who's responsible to take that sign down?
It would
Sean?
fall under the business owner who purchased it.
But what if the building is already out their name? The whole property's out there now.
The new property owner takes on it. It'd be just like how we treat code enforcement. Me and you could be, it could be a house that I own that's in heavy nuisance stuff, junk everywhere. We sell it. I sell it to you, and the town goes out and sees it. You become the new owner having to get that property cleaned up. So that's how we were treated.
So what if it wasn't disclosed at the time by
That would be between you, the realtor, and your legal representative. The town wouldn't get involved. The town only can serve who's on the property tax card record. So if you are the new property owner, we can serve you, but if you say this was disclosed to us, then you can get in contact with your realtor, your legal team, to get in contact with their realtor or legal team, say, why was this not disclosed before closing?
Appreciate it.
Anytime, sir.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I want to piggyback on Cliff, make sure it's clear. We're not making people change their signs. It's only if they want to change the sign or the business changes.
Yeah, we can't create nonconformities with the downs on the bill.
What?
With the downs on the bill that passed the General Assembly about a year ago, we can't create nonconformity.
Right.
That's why Michael was saying to us about nonconformity.
We're not going to go make Cliff change the sign.
No, not at all. Yes, sir. No, they're all in existence where we're trying to get with this ordinance. Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Input? If not, do I hear a motion that we close the public hearing?
Move to close.
Okay. and
Second.
Everybody agree? Okay. So is there some council person that would like to make the recommendation with the adjustment that Councilman Harris made for to approve this?
I make a motion with the clarification on Councilor Harrison, and also adding that section I. I believe that was the only section we added, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That we approve all three of these as written with the changes mentioned.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Did you vote?
No, I didn't.
Okay, motion carries. The next item on our agenda is Corey with the splash pad rules and rates.
Good evening again. So, as you know, our Glover Park splash pad is nearing completion and is planned to be open for the 2026 season. The Parks and Recreation Department, along with the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, has been working on establishing the operating procedures for the splash pad. And attached to your agenda are two documents. The first document is a draft set of rules for the usage of the splash pad. These rules were drafted by town staff using other municipalities across North Carolina as a guide. And these rules were reviewed by the League of Municipalities and by the Advisory Board, who is recommending their adoption. The second document outlines the recommended season length, operating hours, and rental rates for the splash pad. And again, these were drafted looking at that information for other splash pads across North Carolina. So the Parks and Rec Department and the Advisory Board are requesting that the council adopt the rules, season length, operating hours, and rental rates for the Glover Park splash pad. And I did want to make one clarification on the page that has the operating hours and rental rates. What we have there, we have the season length that we're requesting is May 1st through September 30th. The operating hours are Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., and Sundays, 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. The rental times, and this is where I need to make a correction, for Monday through Saturday, the rental time would be 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., and Sundays would be 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. And as far as the rates For that 2-hour rental, what we're recommending is $50 for Nashville residents and $75 for non-residents. And I will be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Corey, out of curiosity, I was just wondering who's gonna make sure these are enforced?
So the splash pad is going to be used at your own risk. We will post these at both of the entrances to the splash pad, and it is up to the users to abide by them.
Like if there's somebody running in rough play, you know?
Yes, it's up to them to follow the rules. Again, if somebody reaches out to us, I mean, we can certainly go over there and enforce it as needed.
Okay. Any other questions? I'm excited it's gonna be open.
I have a couple things. One on the rules at the bottom, for some reason it has Lloyd Park Drive in there, and I don't know if that was just a,
And I did notice that when you go to Google, that is how the address for the park appears, but we will make sure that we get that correct for the signage.
and then I think we need to make it $100 for non-residents, not 75. I mean, we need to take care of our citizens and they're paying taxes. And, I think we need to make it 50 and 100 instead of 50 and 75.
And I don't think that'll be a problem. I need to go back and look at the language from the Part F grant. I know they have some requirements in there as far as how much, a percentage-wise, how much more your non-resident fee is based off of your resident fee. And I can't remember offhand if that's 50% more or 100% more, but I can verify that as well. And if 100 is outside of that, we can come back and address it.
And I just had a question, you know, why are we going to September 30th? I would think that maybe we'd close at Labor Day, right after Labor Day, you know?
Yes, ma'am, and you know, this is what the advisory board is recommending. A lot of your splash pads do run Memorial Day to Labor Day.
Yeah.
I think the thought process is here in eastern North Carolina, we have a lot of days that are still warm after that date, so we just wanted it to get as much usage as possible.
Okay. That is fine. Any other?
Mayor, if I may.
Uh-huh.
Corey, what other communities did your committee look at when they looked at these particular guidelines? It seems very appropriate, but I was just wondering, was there a particular community or so that you did consider?
So originally we looked at Rocky Mount because it was the closest one we had to us. And our advisory board had asked for more data, and I do not have that list in front of me, but I want to say that we looked at probably 30 to 50 different municipalities across the state. It was a lot of them that we looked at.
Yeah, like I said, what you have actually appears to be fair and appropriate. Yeah.
Thank you, Corey. And
Hey,
if,
Mayor, one more question, sorry. Is a staff person going to turn off the water at these times on these days? Or is it?
The way our splash pad will work, when you first enter the splash pad, there will be a little pedestal with a button on it. So for anybody to use the splash pad, they just come up and hit the button. The water runs for 3 to 5 minutes, whatever we set it at, and then it'll cut back off. And all they have to do is go back and push the button. We will program it on our side to where it will only work during these hours.
Okay.
So if somebody goes and pushes the button in the middle of the night, it just won't come on.
Gotcha.
any other comments? If not, do I hear a motion or a recommendation to approve Glover Park splash pad rules, season length, operating hours, and rental rates?
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. The next item is the Stony Creek Environmental Park Grant Application. Corey?
Yes, ma'am. And just to clarify on that last one, was that including the non-resident rate change that?
Looking at that, yeah.
Okay. So,
Is that your motion, Mayor?
No, I was putting the motion up to keep it at 75.
Were you in agreement to 75?
Yeah, I don't want to overdo for something fun for the youth. Youth don't have jobs, even though I know parents do. But and here's the deal: this is going to be our inaugural season, so let's start it, let's try it, and see how it works, and then we'll go from there. And if we need to make assessments after this first inaugural year, we can do so. But this is something fun and exciting for the community, and especially for our youth, and we want to be intentional about that.
Well, just for clarification, it's only for parties. The rest of the time it's free, right?
Correct. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And we do normally do a fee schedule review whenever we do the budget as well, so if we need to look at something then, we certainly can.
Certainly, and thank you.
Yes, sir. So on to Stony Creek Environmental Park. As you know, the town is currently completing a master park plan for Stony Creek Environmental Park, which will be completed by April of this year. Using public input from the master plan, the Parks and Recreation Department is requesting that the council consider applying for funding to add/improve outdoor recreation assets to Stony Creek Environmental Park. And in your agenda report, I did not put what those elements will be, and that's very intentional because as part of that master plan, we have scheduled public engagement sessions for that park. And I hope you noticed the sign on the way in today. I've also distributed these to the council, and I have them available here for anybody in the audience. But our public engagement sessions are scheduled for the third week of February, and we have 4 different sessions, different times of the day. We are asking the public to come out and tell us what they want in their park, and we will use that information to determine what those improvements would look like in Stony Creek Park for the grant applications. So we do ask, the council and everybody, please help us in spreading the word to let people know that we need their input on one of those days for that plan. The 2 funding sources that we would like to apply for, the first is the North Carolina Parks and Recreation Trust Fund, or Part F for short. This is the grant that we applied for and received for Glover Park as well. Part F is a dollar-for-dollar matching grant to local governments for the acquisition and/or development of park and recreational projects to serve the general public. A local government can request up to $500,000 per application. This Part F applications are due May 1st of 2026 with funding notification in the fall, normally in August. The second funding source is the Land and Water Conservation Fund, or LWCF. LWCF is federal funds which in North Carolina are administered by the NC Department of Natural and Cultural Resources. LWCF provides up to dollar-for-dollar matching grants to local governments for the acquisition and/or development of parks. A local government can request up to $500 per application. LWCF funding for the 2026-27 cycle opens May 1st. The deadline has not been posted yet, but it typically is in the fall. And I believe since I typed this, the application deadline is November 1st of 2026. And notifications are made in the spring of the following year. Griffin Grant Works has submitted a proposal to the town to complete the applications for both grants. The cost for these professional grant writing services is $13,750. Since these fees are less than $50,000, the town can exempt itself from the qualification-based selection procurement process required by North Carolina General Statute 143-63.31 for professional services. We are requesting the council adopt Resolution 2026-03 to exempt the town from the qualification-based selection procurement process required by General Statute 143-64.31 for professional services and award a $13,750 professional service contract for Stony Creek Environmental Park grant writing project to Griffin Grant Works. And David Griffin from Griffin Grant Works is here with us tonight. If you have any questions about either one of those applications or the park plan itself, sure he'd be glad to answer them and share his expertise. And I will be glad to answer any questions the council may have.
Any questions? Would you like to hear from David? Do you have any questions for him?
Corey, have we visioned where we're gonna get this dollar for dollar match for this at? What fund we gonna pull it from?
Yes, sir. So that is the wonderful thing, is that Part F and LWCF can match each other. So the plan is to apply for both, with the matching funds matching each other from each pot of money. David, do you want to provide any clarification on that, or is that?
Typically, when you apply for LWCF, you are using part of as a match. There's a few other grants out there that you can also use for additional match money if need be. I was having a conversation earlier with Coy. Part of you're actually rewarded if you overmatch. LWCF, you actually penalized if you overmatch. So there's just odd little parts about each grant, but with the project at Stony Creek Environmental Park, that will line up nicely for the two parks, the two grants countermatching each other.
If we do not get the grant, do we still owe you $13,000?
Yes, sir.
And there is no match for that.
Have you written grants for us before?
No, ma'am, these will be the first ones for Nashville. I've been writing Rocky Mountains grants for the last, since 2002. So I did that for those. I have a really strong history in grants. There's nothing, there's never any guarantees in life in anything. The last three part of grants I've written for Rocky Mount scored #1 in the state, scored #1 for Battle Park, scored #1 for Sunset Park, scored #2 for Stith Talbot Park, was voted #1 for Stith Talbot Park. Both Battle Park and Sunset Park received LWCF funding as well. And Stith Talbot, it's actually with the state. LWCF's a little more expensive because it's more of a negotiation with the state and the National Park Service. But part if you turn the grant in, and that's it.
Well, we're just gonna be positive and believe that you can write us some good grants so we can get these.
You've got a good project. LWCF lines up well with outdoor recreation. And so that's, I wouldn't be taking it on. I'm retired. I wouldn't be taking it on if I didn't think you had a strong application. And you've done a really good job on all your previous planning documents. And I would like to commend the town for that. We've already, as part of the park plan, there's 24 existing plans that we've already reviewed that deal with Stony Creek Environmental Park, and they all align very nicely. So that all goes towards a strong application.
Are we allowed to pay you from out of the grant?
There are certain, it depends on how it is. Part of has certain elements, but it's very detailed, and I'll just leave it at that, of what can do and how on the back side. But the best thing to do is just assume whenever you're gonna hire a grant writer, you're gonna pay that money up front, and you're paying $13,000 for a strong possibility at $1 million.
And if we get one and don't get the other, then we have to figure out a way to pay for the match.
That would be a conversation I think Coy and the manager and you would have, but also you can start looking at different funding sources as well. Right now, I know you already have the Water Resources Development Grant. You're using that for the actual environmental enhancements. That same grant does have recreational aspects to it that you could apply for. There's a recreational trails program grant out there. There's just multiple funding sources, and we are in the golden age of grants for parks and recreation. There's more money available right now than there's ever been.
David, could you step closer to the microphone so the audience can hear you?
Oh, absolutely. I'm sorry.
Well, it's exciting, and our Parks and Rec director's done a great job, we think, on getting us involved in all of this, so thank you.
Thank
Any
you.
questions for either of the two? Thank you very much. If not, do I hear a recommendation to approve Resolution 2026-03 with Griffin Grant Works for the preparation and submission of the grants for the environmental park?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, get to writing and do it good.
Thank you.
Corey, no, the next item is our sidewalk replacement project.
Mayor and council, as you know, for this fiscal year, we budgeted $245,000 for sidewalk replacement. Most of that's coming from our POW funds and $20,000 from the MSD fund. And the list of sidewalks to be repaired has been completed. Our public works staff has gone through and measured all of the defective sidewalk, well, most all of the defective sidewalk. Larry, I don't think we've gone down your neighborhood yet, but that's probably,
I was gonna ask that question, but you answered it for me. Go ahead.
it's probably the only one we've left out this far. So, we got a cost estimate from our engineer, Stocks Engineering, as to what sidewalk tear out and replacement costs, and they're saying it's about $14.50 a square foot. And when we broke down the sidewalks by area, MSD and non-MSD, we came up with for the MSD, which is in your packet. They're not exactly in order, but the MSD is sidewalks are on page 172. There's a total of 8,538 square feet, and I know it says 15, but that's only because I didn't make the cell wide enough to say 14 and a half, but 14 and a half feet or dollars per square foot brings it to 123,801. And then if you go back to page 167, all the other sidewalks, which there are more list locations, but not as many square feet, it comes to 100,862. So we have enough money budgeted to take care of both these sidewalk lists if, when we let this for bid, it comes back at $14.50 a square foot or less. Having said that, the greater cost is actually in the MSD, and we have $180,000 in our MSD fund presently, and we're only proposing, we've only budgeted to use 20,000 of it for sidewalks. I didn't know if the council wanted to have a discussion about possibly increasing that dollar amount and offsetting some of the Powell money, which then could be used for more street repair and overlaying.
I would think we need to try to increase it a little bit.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
The recommendation that we got from the Downtown Strong Advisory Board when we did the last budget was 20,000. That's what their recommendation was. But at that time, we didn't have all the sidewalks that were bad in the MSD measured up. We do now.
And I think they would be willing to give more, really, because, but I'm thrilled to see this because our sidewalks were really in poor condition. And it's really nice to see them getting up to par so that people can actually walk around our town and enjoy just walking. But, council, what do you think about the MSD requesting some more funding?
See if they'll go for 40, Randy.
Okay, and we have time. I mean, I'm ready to let this out. How we pay for it doesn't need to be fully decided
Right.
tonight.
Right.
See what the bid is that you get.
Yes.
And then we can go from there.
I have, I think, 10 different concrete companies that do flat work or sidewalk work that I'm planning to send this to. And it's something we're going to do in-house as far as letting bid and bidding it out. And, we've used these same specifications twice before for sidewalk repair. And we're just going to apply them for these sidewalks here.
Do we need a motion, or we're just gonna?
No, it's for
you're just gonna try
discussion,
this
right?
For discussion, right?
What dollar amount would you want the Downtown Strong to consider above and beyond the 20,000 that they've already recommended and the council's already approved for sidewalk?
I'm looking at 40.
40, okay.
That's it.
The
That's
total,
it.
40.
Total.
There's 20-some thousand, and they're
180.
180.
180,000.
So 40, it still ain't hurt 'em.
Yeah, and not only, in addition to what Larry is recommending, you made mention of the overlay, which gives us a little bit more other funding
Right.
for infrastructure. So, yes.
Yeah, and on the street overlaying project, what we have tentatively scheduled was Cross Street between 58 or First Street and Barn Street. Now, not all that needs to be done. I mean, there's a section in front of Braswell Milling that we recently, we did. That doesn't have to be touched, but, you know, a lot of that street, it's heavily traveled, it's alligated, and would like to have it milled and overlaid with a good asphalt layer, and then see if we could talk to the DOT about doing a jurisdictional transfer on Cross Street. My thinking is, it's a major arterial through Nashville, and I think they would agree that, you know, they may want to take that over and have responsibility, similar to what we did with North Clarendon. We started that 4 years ago, and we just finished it last year. These jurisdictional transfers don't happen quickly. And then the other overlay is what the difference on Birchwood from like the Elks Lodge all the way to, I believe it is South Clarendon, to have that overlaid. Now, the good part about that is that street doesn't have curb and gutters, so we don't have to mill anything. So those are the two streets we're looking at overlays right now. Now, we haven't bid that out yet, so if you have other candidates that you think need attention, let me or Jason know, and we can see if we can get them worked into the mix.
Okay, do you need anything else on that topic?
I don't. We're going to go ahead and let bid on this then and see what they come back with. And in the meantime, we'll have a discussion with the Downtown Strong Advisory Board and let them know that the council would like to spend $40,000 of MSD money on sidewalk repair.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is the semi-quincentennial discussion.
Good job.
Somebody keeps leaving the batteries on.
Okay, as we all know, it's the 250th anniversary of the United States. So we're just kind of gauging your interest. We were talking about maybe doing on something on July 3rd, but that is when Rocky Mount typically has theirs. July 4th is Castalia, so we're trying to gauge your interest in the town doing something. We have, you know, we haven't budgeted anything for this year, so perhaps in the upcoming budget, we can get an idea of what y'all are interested in doing. If you want us to try to reach out to the public to get their ideas of what to do. We had talked about fireworks, but we really don't want to compete with Castalia. So it could be we could do fireworks, it's just maybe at a different time. But that is after talking to Coy, we don't have music scheduled for the 3rd at our farmers market because of maybe did you say it was because of Rocky Mount? It's a holiday for the town. There's not going to be a lot of people working that day. So we just kind of want to see what y'all think. It can be going on anytime this year. So I did go to one of the meetings at Braswell Library for the county. Then I was sick with the flu and I never got any updates, but I'm back in the loop with their emails now. So I will be attending a meeting on the 24th of February to find out what everybody else is doing. But we're trying to reach out, trying to figure out what y'all would be interested in us having to do.
Well, I definitely think we should do something. I've had citizens call me, and I had one that even said they would be willing to serve on a committee if we had one to do something, you know, here in Nashville. But I don't know about the council's feelings.
No, I think we need to do something. I just don't know when and what.
When and what?
And so, and how to pay for it.
That is true.
And there are a lot of things you can do that don't cost money, you know.
There are.
That we could do that would just involve the people and be a fun time.
I think it'd be one of those that we would need some committees in town. I remember as a child, because I am that old, when we all, in my grandmother's town, we all dressed up and bicentennial clothing, and there were just historic, like they were quilting, and there was food, and everybody brought covered dish, and I mean, it was that kind of, I mean, it was a very small town. So
I think it's worth having a good discussion, and if you know some people that would like to serve on the committee, let Lou know, you know.
yes, please do, and then I'll reach out to them, and maybe we'll put out something on social media trying to get a crowd, you know, some people interested and start a
Definitely a
committee.
member of our library would be great, you know, somebody from our library.
I do. A lot of Rocky Mount, from what I understand, is they're doing things at the library, for them. But I also think, you know, we've got a lot with our splash pad opening up this summer, you know, things at the park maybe. So I don't know.
I think something fun and different and unique is cool.
It's probably, yeah. I know, we can't compete with Castalia's fireworks.
Well, I
so.
don't think we should.
And I don't think we should either. Or Red Oak.
Right.
Or do they have fireworks?
Come back, yeah, they do. Come back with something.
But we can celebrate a different way.
We sure can.
I was going to say, I think the general consensus is that we are in agreement as a council and mayor
Right.
that we should acknowledge
Yes.
and do something. And moving forward, that looks on or takes on the identity of getting an advisory committee together and some of our town staff and moving forward.
Okay.
And as Bill suggested, you know, let's think outside of the box.
Right.
Let's
Do
try to be
something different
unique.
and exciting.
Uh-huh. I think it's an opportunity.
I do too. And I think it'd be really good to have an advisory committee of town members.
Right.
Yeah, sure.
And
So-
maybe the paper, like Nancy.
You could be on the committee.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
She's creative.
There you go.
But yeah, just get,
She could prove.
get people involved, and maybe we can do something that other people aren't doing that will really attract people, you know? And
Okay.
if it doesn't attract anybody, at least our citizens can celebrate.
Exactly.
So, move forward.
All right, we will move forward. We're
Anything I can
trying
do
to
to help, I
form
will.
an advisory committee.
Okay, that'd
Sound
be
good?
great. That'd be great. The next item on our agenda is the change in our council meeting date.
Mayor and council, I would like to ask the council to consider moving our July 15th meeting either a week up or a week behind, so I could return to my native state of Iowa and participate in a family function.
We could either have it on July the 8th or July the 22nd. They're a week before or a week after.
I'm flexible.
So
Yeah, I'm okay either way.
July the 8th is mighty close to July the 4th, because people might be on vacation, take off for
Yeah,
vacation.
that's true.
So what do you think about July the 22nd?
Fine with me?
So do I hear a motion to change the date from July the 15th to July the 22nd?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
We
Thank you,
definitely want
council.
that boy to get back to his home state with his family, so he'll come back and stay here with us. Well, I think that's the last item on our agenda. Is there anybody else have any comments?
Mayor, if I may, I just wanted to regurgitate back to the special use permits for the Blooming Festival, Farmers Market, Oktoberfest, as well as the Children's Bike Parade. I'm grateful for those that host and come back each year and make that request, because that is part of the charm of Nashville. And while we are a governance body, we are excited about engaging our community in those type of activities. So thank you, Core, thank you, Cliff, and all of those with the chamber, and those that work to make sure that we have those type of events as well. So once again, thank you so very much.
Anybody else? If not to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned.